Let's talk right now about the evidence that's going to be brought forward in Prince Andrew's sexual assault case, which has been brought by Virginia Giuffre. Of course, last week we saw Ghislaine Maxwell found guilty on a number of the charges, most of the charges brought against her. She now faces the rest of her life behind bars. But a crucial document is going to be published a little bit later today, which is going to be playing a very big role in the case that she is bringing against Prince Andrew. Of course, Virginia Giuffre was mentioned again and again in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, was clearly taken very seriously as a witness by the jury in that proper criminal trial. Her civil case rests on her claim that she was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein and by Ghislaine Maxwell, and that she was forced to have sex with Prince Andrew on 3 occasions. He has denied all of those charges, but now face being cast into royal exile if he does lose that case against him. Well, let's talk about all of this with royal biographer Angela Levin. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, later on today, the confidential settlement between Jeffrey Epstein, of course, the paedophile billionaire, and Virginia Giuffre is set to be made public and is expected to play a key part in Prince Andrew's legal case. Tell us what's so significant about this document.
Well, the main significance is the wording, of course, and if it absolutely itemizes the people she must not draw into court or take any action again in the future, and one of those names is Prince Andrew, then it's definitely going to go ahead. But the feeling is from some people who have spoken to me that it's quite vague. It doesn't really say exactly who and who doesn't have to be covered by this document. So it's a real wait and see and on chewing your fingernails situation about whether he's being mentioned or not.
But what's the significance of him being mentioned? We know, we know that Jeffrey Epstein had an incredible black book of all the rich and famous presidents, former presidents, top business people, film stars, and like. Turns out, I think you and I were the only people who didn't fly on his jet, the Lolita Express, as it was known. It seemed to be used by all and sundry. We know he had CCTV cameras in his jets, all his various homes. Goodness knows what he's got on. Who knows how many people? But the crucial thing here is that even if we know that she signed a multi-million-dollar settlement with
$2 million apparently she got for it, that she wouldn't sort of mention about anybody else's behavior. That's what it is. So I don't know what would happen if she went against that. I mean, that's another court case, isn't it? So that she can actually go against what she has signed and sealed for. So that's what it is, really. We have to wait and see. And also tomorrow is the day. This afternoon we get to know what's in that document, and tomorrow the judge will decide whether or not it goes ahead. So it's an anxious day, a sleepless night for Prince Andrew and probably his family.
Well, indeed. I mean, we did see, didn't we, after the Ghislaine Maxwell verdict, that all the headlines went straight to Prince Andrew and what happens with him then, because his entire defence, from what we have seen from the court documents, has been, he doesn't recall even meeting this girl, even though, woman as she is now, 17-year-old. There was a photograph with Prince Andrew with his arm around Virginia Giuffre and Ghislaine Maxwell there, we believe taken by Jeffrey Epstein in Ghislaine's house in London. His whole evidence is from his lawyers is basically she's an unreliable witness, that she's just money grabbing, and this is all made up. It is quite clear though that the jury in that trial for Ghislaine Maxwell felt that she was a credible witness and her story was credible. So that means it's a much harder case for him to win now.
Well, she wasn't called, of course. She wasn't called deliberately because they felt that her evidence was unstable. So I'm not quite sure that you're right on that one.
But she was mentioned. She was mentioned again and again in the court proceedings.
Yes, but she wasn't called. So I don't know quite how much that will affect people. If she didn't actually give evidence in it, they were probably told not to decide on her. There were four very moving witness statements, and we saw them being talking through what agony they had suffered. And so, I mean, we are there a bit. I think one of the difficulties for Prince Andrew is that he doesn't have any evidence that he wasn't in London and with Virginia, because he claimed before, if you remember, that he took his daughter Beatrice to a party, then he went to have a pizza, and also that
Pizza Express in Woking, famously.
Yeah, exactly.
But
And
no witnesses,
also,
no one to corroborate that. What's strange is this
there's
is a
no-
man who's constantly surrounded by security guards and drivers and
yeah.
goodness knows what. One would assume that there are a whole litany of officials who'll have kept paperwork would be able to prove exactly
Well,
where he was on any
apparently
date.
the date has not been kept on that day, you know, the actual thing. Like, so it's hard to believe. But if the judge decides tomorrow that the case will go ahead, regardless of how hard Prince Andrew's team has fought, I think the family and these protection officers will be called, and they will have to give details about that. It puts them in a very difficult position, I think, the protection officers, because they are there for their support and for being quiet about what they see, but they will have to broadcast. But apparently the case won't be heard, if it is heard, until the autumn. So it's a very, very long wait for everyone, and yet another cloud that's hanging over for a very long time.
Exactly, and we know there's more and more pressure on the Duke. There are calls for him to step down from his military roles. I mean, it's well over a year now. Well, no, a couple of years now. November 2019, when he stepped down from public duties for the foreseeable future. Even when his daughters got married, the official photos were released without him in the photos, which which shows how much he has been sort of become the black sheep of the family. Again, not convicted of anything, denied any wrongdoing. But now there's talk about him effectively going into royal exile if he does go on to lose this case. Basically, being asked not to use his royal title and the like. Do you think that's going to happen?
This is a very difficult thing as well, because, I mean, you can't claim he's guilty until he's been tried.
Yes.
He's got about 9 military honours, but the colonel of one of the senior people in the Grenadier Guards, of which Prince Andrew is colonel, has said he doesn't want him there. But the general feeling is that you can't preempt what the judgment will be. And so it's a terribly difficult situation all round. And you can't really be the patron of something and actually not be able to do absolutely anything about it. Be involved, be seen with it. I think that's not, one should say that he should step back and then come back if everything's all right. Because I don't think it affects the family very nicely. You can't just leave it there. But that's, it's obviously not up to me. But that would be.
But it is. But again, it's an embarrassment is the wrong word. I think it's rather more than that. It's a total scandal, isn't it? The accusations made again. I do need to stress, this is a civil case being brought against him. He has not been found guilty of anything. There are no actual criminal charges against him. It is really important to stress that. I've been a strong believer of innocent until proven guilty. Big thanks to you, Royal Biographer Angela Levin. Quick